Filming. And I am here with the author of Compassionate Capitalism, the Intersection of Economic Growth and Social Justice, with Gerard Hasenhuetti. Did I pronounce that right?
That's pretty close.
Well, that's... If I'm anywhere near close, my wife would faint dead away from shock. Okay, tell us about your book.
Basically, my book is a book about economic systems, but I'm not an economist. I've got MBA level 1A economics, but my background is in innovation and science.
What type of science, if I may ask?
I've trained as an organic chemist, a PhD in organic chemistry. And I've worked in the food industry and peripherally on pharmaceuticals and cosmetics. And I have a fairly solid background in industrial research.
So what prompted the book on compassionate capitalism?
I think it started when I went to MBA classes when I was in my 50s. And I noted that there's a big difference in the way that economists look at a problem and the way that innovators look at a problem. In marketing, they tell you that what you do is you allocate scarce resources efficiently. That's the way an economist would look at it. So that's your job as a manager. And it's essentially a fancy term for rationing. You kind of ration and try to do the best you can with it. Innovators look at a problem totally differently. Scarce resources, we look at it as a problem of how do we make the scarce resource more prevalent, and we get more of it, or we find a substitute that works the same, or maybe even sometimes you discover it works better than the original material that's scarce. So looking at those two views, I was trying to compare the socialism and capitalism as the polar extremes. And is it an easier problem to make capitalism more compassionate, or is it easier to make socialism with more freedom and innovation? And I came to the conclusion that making capitalism compassionate would be like a 2-mile walk up a steep hill, but that trying to make socialism that would overcome all of the problems that it has would be sort of like climbing Mount Everest. So I started examining it from that perspective and finding that capitalism is already becoming more compassionate, and I cite a number of examples in the book of companies that have gone out of their way to involve their employees.
It's funny you mentioned that, because we had a thing up in Massachusetts with the molars where the workers actually struck for their to keep their CEO because he treated them so well. Because he was compassionate, the workers were behind him and the business was a success.
Yeah. A lot of people who train as MBAs don't realize how important it is to have that interaction with the employees where you kind of inspire them. And the companies take different approaches to being compassionate with the communities. For example, I was at Kraft Foods. We had adopted an inner city school on the west side of Chicago. We would send our scientists down there to do Friday afternoon sessions on experimentation and science, and hands-on with the kids, because we thought a lot of those kids would be more inspired by hands-on learning. And then some of our volunteers would come down on the weekend and help the kids with their homework. And the scores for the school went up dramatically when that program was in force. But the problem with large corporations doing this is that managements change. They change their priorities. And after several years, they decided not to continue that program. And of course, losing a program is much worse once you've had it than it is, never getting a program.
So it actually, because it succeeded and then you didn't have it anymore.
Yeah, and then there's kind of a resentment that you let it go. And, so that's the way of large corporations work. The real compassion, I think, comes a lot from the small businesses.
Because you have individuals who have their faith and like that, that can bring that out. Yeah. So the book is Compassionate Capitalism, the Intersection of Economic Growth and Social Justice.
Yes.
And where can people find this book?
You can find it in Amazon on hardcover, or it's in the Kindle version.
And can we find you online anywhere?
Probably not right now. I'm in the work of developing a website to market some of my books. I also have a couple of technical books and some fiction.
All right, the book again is Compassionate Capitalism, the Intersection of Economic Growth and Social Justice. The author is Gerald L., and I'm going to let you pronounce your last name because I'll massacre it.
Hasenhuetti.
Hospital. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.